And now for Ted Cruz news. Yesterday, Senator Ted Cruz was at Christus Trinity Mother Francis at Tyler, Texas. We have a little picture there. He was discussing health care with the group. John, can you show that picture? Maybe? See a picture of Ted Cruz? And this last week, Senator Cruz was on Fox News discussing what is going on at the United States Senate. And Jonathan, would you show that clip of Ted Cruz at Fox News? Maybe I'm just going too fast.
Judiciary Committee as well. Senator, good morning to you. I know you've been waiting patiently there in Washington, D.C. What did you think of the case he just made there?
Well, good morning, Bill. It's good to be with you. And, you know, President Trump is exactly right. Our federal immigration laws give enormous discretion, enormous authority to the president to keep this country safe, and particularly over the question of refugees, over the questions of immigrants. Congress has passed immigration laws that explicitly give the president the authority to keep out any class of aliens who pose a threat to this country. And so the actions of an activist judge on the West Coast staying this order, and listen, the Ninth Circuit is famously the most liberal and activist court of appeals in the country. We may see some activist judges trying to put roadblocks in the way, but at the end of the day, the law is clear that the president has the authority to keep us safe. And for 8 years, President Obama refused to do so and kept letting in refugees who the FBI told us they couldn't vet to determine whether or not they were ISIS terrorists. That doesn't make any sense. And President Trump was right this morning. That was a big reason he was elected and Hillary wasn't, as people were tired of the federal government letting in people who we don't know if they're terrorists or not.
I got a couple things to tick through here. Quickly, you've argued cases before the U.S. Supreme Court. I think 9, is that right, if memory serves?
Yes.
9 cases. Is this where regardless of what happens in San Francisco, is this where we're headed?
Well, I think it's likely going to the Supreme Court. I'm not terribly optimistic about the Court of Appeals in the Ninth Circuit. As I said, it is a famously activist and lawless court.
In a court that's 4-4, would you expect one of the liberal judges to rule on behalf of the administration? Some have suggested Elena Kagan might be that one. Do you think that?
You know, Bill, I don't know. I would hope this decision would be unanimous. It should be unanimous. The statutes are very clear. But there's no doubting we're living in a very politicized world right now. Politics is hot, and those on the left are angry. You know, we're seeing liberals engage in what I'm calling Trump derangement syndrome, where they're in denial and they're filled with rage and fury. I hope if and when this case gets to the Supreme Court that the more liberal justices there don't let their political and partisan leanings cloud what I think is really a very easy legal question, which is just following the plain text of the immigration laws that Congress has passed.
President Trump tweeted this earlier today. If the U.S. does not win this case, as it so obviously should, we can never have the security and safety to which we are entitled. Politics, exclamation point. Put that argument to the side now. Let's talk about what happened overnight with Senator Elizabeth Warren on the floor of the Senate. She was asked to conclude her remarks based on the maligning, so to speak, of another U.S. Senator, that being Jeff Sessions, now nomination, still debated to be the next Attorney General. You, by some Republicans a few years back, were criticized for going after Senator McConnell on the floor of the Senate. Is this different or not now, Senator?
Well, listen, it's another example last night of what I said a minute ago, Bill, which is that the Democrats are angry and they're out of their minds. You know, we're seeing in the Senate Democrats objecting to every single thing. They're boycotting committee meetings. They're refusing to show up. They're foaming at the mouth practically. And really, you know, where their anger is directed, it's not at Republicans. Their anger is directed at the American people. They're angry with the voters. How dare you vote in a Republican president, a Republican Senate, a Republican House? You know, they are right now embracing what many of the Senate Democrats are taking. The lesson of this election was that Hillary was too moderate. and they need to go more Elizabeth Warren, more Bernie Sanders, more extreme and on the fringes. I think that's really unfortunate, and I think last night you saw that with Elizabeth lashing out at Jeff Sessions and really lashing out at the American people because she's angry about the election.
Should she have been able to continue or not? Or wasn't she, perhaps you can make a case, playing by the same rules that you were playing by, Senator?
Well, listen, I wasn't there on the Senate floor last night. I was actually over on another network, on CNN, in a 2-hour debate with Bernie Sanders on Obamacare. And I got to say, at the time, we were having the sorts of debates that I think ought to happen a lot more often. You know, on most issues in politics, you get 60 seconds or 90 seconds, and everyone talks through their talking points, and you're done. We spent 2 hours in a town hall with CNN answering questions, delving down.
I watched part of that, but you know the left is fired up, and Elizabeth Warren is in part helping to lead that charge.
Well, and I got to say, by the way, that the charges that she was making against Jeff Sessions are demonstrably false. They're slanderous. They're ugly. And it's one of the crutches. You know, when the left doesn't have any other arguments, they go and just accuse everyone of being a racist. And it's an ugly, ugly part of the modern Democratic Party. Jeff Sessions is an honorable, decent person. The charges that she was recounting, you know, Senate Judiciary Committee, we had extensive hearings. We heard from witnesses, people involved in these false charges. And I'll point out, listen, the Democrats are the party of the Ku Klux Klan. You look at the most racist, you look at the people, the Dixiecrats. They were Democrats who imposed segregation, imposed Jim Crow laws, who founded the Klan. The Klan was founded by a great many Democrats, and yet now the Democrats just accuse anyone they disagree with of being a racist. That was a false smear of Jeff Sessions, and I think he's going to make an extraordinary Attorney General. After 8 years, we deserve an Attorney General who'll be faithful to the law and faithful to the Constitution.
Last question. Got about 30 seconds left for this. You mentioned Obamacare, the debate last night with Senator Sanders there. Senator Bob Corker said in recent days that there is no congealing around any particular idea. So if that is the case, what is the reality facing Republican majority in Congress on repeal, replace, repair, whatever you want to call it, Senator?
The reality is twofold. Number one, we've got to deliver on the promises we made. This election was a referendum on Obamacare. For 6 years, we promised the voters we're going to repeal it. We've got to deliver. I believe we're going to. Number two, there's a lot of agreement on elements to replace Obamacare that are all focused around expanding your choice, putting power in the hands of you, the patient, to make your health care decisions with your doctor without government getting in the way. Some of those ideas there's a lot of agreement on is allowing you to buy health insurance across state lines so that you drive down prices, expand choice, expanding health savings accounts, and making health insurance portable so you don't lose it when you lose your job, that it goes with you from job to job.
Not an easy lift. You'd agree with that, right, Senator?
Well, we got a lot of work to do, but I'm excited to be rolling up my sleeves and getting to work. This election was a mandate for change.
I wish I had more time. I'm out. I apologize.
Now, I'm always checking on cruz.senate.gov to see what's going on with Senator Cruz. And I saw that on Thursday, Senator Ted Cruz was interviewed by Stephen Crowder talking about his debate with Senator Bernie Sanders. And, of course, I watched the debate. So I thought this was a great video.
You need to be more respectful with your vote. Ted Cruz, thank you for being with us, Senator.
Stephen, great to be with you.
I'm glad to have you. I was disappointed. I thought you were going to have the Van Halen T-shirt, which you mentioned last time, but next time.
Maybe Pink Floyd next time.
Pink Floyd. Okay, we can do either or. Okay, we want to talk about the debate. We live streamed this debate with you and Senator Bernie Sanders. We always maintained during the primaries on this program, we said that's the debate we really want to see because it would be the starkest contrast of socialism versus conservatism. For those who may have missed it, I want to roll a quick clip from the debate really quickly to show how Senator Cruz performed.
Cannot believe what you just said. It's in direct contradiction to everything you ran for president on. What Ted has said is he wants to get rid of all federal mandates. Did you say that 100 times?
I didn't say it once.
I will, said Ted Cruz, I will...
Turn down for what? Turn down for what?
Senator Cruz, did you feel like you were... I know he's a nice guy. Did you feel like he was just overmatched there? He did not... At a certain point, he seemed very frazzled. Could you see that occur in real time?
Well, look, Bernie is someone who, I'll give him credit. He's honest. He's candid. I frankly think there are a lot of the Democrats in the Senate who are socialists who pretend not to be.
Yes.
And Bernie doesn't. He's very open. He's a socialist. Every problem, he thinks government's the answer. And so, look, there's something refreshing about that candor.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I think it's also the case that Bernie has been surrounded by people who agree with him all the time. You know, when he was debating with Hillary, she wouldn't disagree with him on anything.
Right.
And he's surrounded by adoring supporters. So I don't think he's been in a position of actually having to defend what he says other than having everyone nod and say, yes, free stuff. That sounds wonderful.
I hate to be adversarial with you right off the bat. He did have an argument with Hillary Clinton, and that was over the fact that she got a perfect F from the NRA. He got a D-. So get your facts correct, Senator.
I stand corrected.
But that was the only point of difference on the DNC stage. Like you said, there is no difference of ideas in that platform now. It is so homogenous.
Well, and it's one of the realities of being a conservative or being a libertarian is when you go out, you have to defend what you believe. I mean, you know, I do town halls all over the place, and, you know, I'm used to questions from people that are raising, whether it's reporters who are always coming after you, or just citizens that raise good questions. And I don't think those on the left engage in a lot of dialogue, and when they do, they tend to have 1 to 2 talking points. Mm-hmm. And when you dig down a little bit deeper, there are not a lot of facts there.
Well, that is one thing that was a startling difference. Even third-party observers watching this said, you know what, listen, we have to give this one to Senator Cruz. Like you said, whether it's reporters, whether it's the entertainment industry, whether it's Samantha Bee just spitting out pea soup at you, everyone, I think, had to acknowledge at one point. Your notes just seem to be, you would talk about premiums, how they went up, deductibles, how they went up, and Bernie would deal, well, you're a lawyer, with these sort of phantom fears, right? Things that had not yet happened. You can't do that in a courtroom where you say, but what if this could happen? Well, it hasn't. Did you notice a lot of that?
Well, look, I'm getting ready for the debate. I studied what Bernie had said in the Democratic debates, and he always says 3 things. He says that health care is a right, a human right of everyone. And that every country on earth, every major country guarantees it except the United States, and we need to step up and do that. And those are his 3 talking points.
You know what? Really quickly, since you said it, I have a clip ready. It's about 35 seconds. I think this was the highlight of the debate. We've tried to condense it. Let me roll this. I thought it was beautiful, and I think it's an important springboard for a question I want to ask.
Ted, let me ask you a question. Sure. Is every American entitled, and I underlined that word, to health care as a right of being an American? Yes or no?
You know, I'm glad you asked that. You know, right is a word you use a lot. Let's talk about what rights are. Rights mean you have a right for government not to mess with you, for government not to do things with you. If you look at the Bill of Rights, the Bill of Rights, free speech means the government can't silence you when you're speaking. Religious liberty means the government can't control who you worship, what your faith is. The Second Amendment means the government can't take away your guns. And if you believe health care is a right, why on earth did you help write Obamacare that caused 6 million people to have their health insurance canceled, that had them lose their doctors, and had people like LaRonda who can't get health insurance, can't afford premiums? You're denying her what you say is her right.
Well, for a start. It's like, well, there is no start, Bernie, and there's no finish, I've noticed with him. Here's something I think that was really a fundamental difference, and why I would have loved to see this debate on more than just health care. People say, well, the right and the left want the same things, just different ways to go about it. I think this showcase, actually, we don't. If we can't even agree on what a fundamental right is, meaning the right of liberty versus free stuff, we need to scrap this idea that we're more on the same page than we actually are. Or am I out of line there?
Well, yeah, I think you're right. Look, at the highest level of generality, everyone wants peace and happiness and love.
Right.
But when you get down one level below that, I mean, the basic divide between left and right is the Democrats, the left of the party of government. They believe in government control of everything. And those of us on the right, I think the unifying principle is a devotion to liberty. Leave us alone. Keep the government. The government needs to do only what is essential. And other than that, stay the heck out of our lives. Let us be free. Let us pursue our dreams. I think that's the basic divide.
Well, I think Bernie, and we've noticed this being on YouTube, being out there with a pretty young demographic, Senator Sanders has lost a lot of people. A lot of people thought, disregarding the honest part, okay, he's an honest socialist, but they thought he was a nice guy. And we've noticed a reaction when he berated that business owner saying, if it's 50 people, she said less than 50 people, he said, I'm sorry, but you have to. And everyone was going, whoa, hold on a second. He always said the wealthiest 1%. For people who didn't do their research, they thought it was billionaires, they thought it was millionaires, but really he was looking her in the face at that point. And I feel like that was a turning point. A lot of people who used to like Bernie said, this changed my mind.
Stephen, I think that exchange was the most important exchange of the night. It was simply a back and forth between one woman in the town hall and Bernie. And for those who didn't watch it, let me recount what happened. She stood up. She's a woman who owns several hair care salons in Fort Worth, Texas. And she had, I think, 48 employees. And she said she wanted to expand and hire more, but she can't because it put her over 50 employees, which would make her subject to Obamacare, and that would bankrupt her. And she said, what do you say to me? And Bernie said, I'm sorry, you're not going to like my answer, but you need to pay for health care for all your employees. And he said, listen, I don't know much about small business or hair care, any of what you're doing, but you need to pay for health care for everyone. And she said, but I can't. The profit margins in our business are incredibly small.
Yes.
If I do that, I go bankrupt.
Well, that's so important, right? Is when you talk about freedom, he has no business concept. He doesn't know what her profit margins are. He doesn't know if she's borrowing for payroll taxes or to create inventory, as many small businesses do. Yep. So it's just, it really is, it preys on greed is what we talk about, where it's just, if you have 50, you should give them free health care. he gets full Gilbert when he gets mad. And
that's a pretty good Gilbert, too.
Son of a gun! He need more free crap! That's how I see it. When he gets mad, he just yells and he gets red, and you're like, he looked at one point like he was trying to escape kind of the special care home. That's what I will say. The old
the follow-up exchange with that woman was even more revealing, because he said, look, you have health care, your employees deserve it. And she said, actually, I don't have health care. I can't afford it for me.
And so his solution would be lay off half so you can pay for Obamacare, or make them part-time, get yourself there's no possible solution to that with his worldview.
And what's so revealing, when Bernie Sanders and Hillary Clinton and Barack Obama say tax the rich, he means that woman right there, that small business owner. And from their perspective, if you go bankrupt, they put so many burdens on you, you go out of business, great. You'll all go on welfare. You'll be dependent on government. That's a great solution for them.
Right.
I mean, it's a total lack of understanding of what it's like to be in a small business, to be in the world. Listen, Bernie Sanders has been an elected politician for over 30 years. When he was first elected, I think I was in high school.
Yeah, he was couch surfing before that.
And so the idea of how a small business owner scrimps and saves and doesn't pay themselves so they can pay payroll. I grew up with my parents owning a small business, and it's hard, but it's also what makes our economy incredible.
Yeah, but isn't it easy to sell this bill of free goods to people who don't know that, right? We were just talking about the Walmart CEO, 19 million, but it employs 2.5 million people. So if you just say, 50 people is when it's free healthcare. Well, why not 40? Why not 60? Changing topics, I would kick myself if I didn't ask this. I don't want to do a gotcha moment here, but you and Donald Trump had some really heated exchanges in the primaries.
I didn't notice.
Yes, to put it lightly, this is our position. We were not big Donald Trump supporters in the primaries, but now because the left has behaved so poorly, we feel compelled to defend him on a lot of issues. Has he apologized for the personal things that he said? And if not, how do you work directly with a guy like that?
He hasn't apologized. I haven't asked him to apologize. I'm focusing on what my job is, which is I'm elected by 27 million Texans to fight for them. And I think we've got an incredible opportunity. I'm actually excited about the opportunity. It is rare and it's historic for Republicans to be given the White House and every executive agency in both houses of Congress. We can, if we actually roll up our sleeves and get to work, do an enormous amount of good, advance human liberty, get government off our back, bring back jobs, raise wages, protect the Constitution. All of that excites the heck out of me.
Yeah.
And so, at the end of the day, I'm not looking for someone that I want to go grab a beer with and pal around with.
Yeah.
I'm looking for how do I do the job I was elected to, which is fight for Texans.
I don't mean grab a beer with, but one you don't want to strike forcefully, considering how personal he got. I mean, at least been nicer in his communications with you. Oh, listen, everyone has had that guy in the office where it's like, he insulted my wife or insulted my dad. It seems like it would be tough to get. Has he been nicer at least?
Oh, sure. Look, I mean, politics is a bare knuckles game, and it was a vigorous primary. I tried hard to beat him. He tried hard to beat me, and he succeeded, and I didn't. So, that's a very
I feel
grateful
way to look.
to have come as close as we did. We came very close to winning it all. And, we had 326,000 volunteers across the country. I mean, that was an amazing thing to be part of, and I feel really grateful for it.
Yeah, and you did get to have that opportunity with Senator Bernie Sanders. Was that something, I know you probably knew Hillary was an easier candidate to run against, but was there a part of you that always just thought, man, I'd love to get Senator Sanders on stage?
Oh, sure, and I wouldn't have minded a more far-reaching debate. I mean, but it was, it's interesting. We spent 2 hours on CNN talking about health care. Mm-hmm. And the contrast, I mean, the entire presidential season, I think the most any topic got covered was a 90-second soundbite where people just do a couple of talking points. I think we ought to
saying,
have,
you're wrong.
Right. We ought to have real substantive debates like that where someone lays out a plan. Okay, let's talk about the specifics. Let's talk about step 1, step 2, step 3. Let's, something like health care matters to every one of us. I mean, it's our moms, it's our kids, it's our lives.
Well, I would have loved to see, I know you're a busy man, I would have loved to see a more wide-ranging debate, but I really think healthcare is about the only thing Bernie could do. If you debated about, the military or foreign policy, he'd just yell, bake sale! And the debate is over.
I think the next 100 days, the next 6 months, the next year and 2 years, we've got an opportunity to really advance liberty, defend the Constitution. And I'd love your help. We got to do it together.
Absolutely. Well, Senator Cruz, that sounds like you're inviting yourself to come back, but we were going to invite you to come back anyway with the Pink Floyd shirt, tedcruz.org. Thank you so much, Senator. We very much appreciate it.
Excellent.
We'll be back.
Thanks, David.
After this.
I really liked this interview that Steven Crowder had. It was real talk with Senator Cruz, and it also had him laughing at some points.